Welcome to the Chronic Health Collective. This isn't just a community, it's our fresh start. We gathered the best coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, to heal from the inside out, and of course, to live with purpose. Whether you're longing for more energy, deeper healing in your relationships, or a life that feels more aligned and fulfilling, you're not alone. Welcome to the Chronic Health Collective. And today, as you can see, the only people in the collective is just me and Minna.
I haven't been here for a while.
I think, it is so amazing. We're just talking about what started 4 years ago when we started the Chronic Healthy Life on having a vision to help people around the world, interviewing people, getting experts around the world on a show. And we just celebrated 3 years, going on to 4 years on that show, right?
Yeah, we're turning 4 on Chronically Healthy Life.
Yes.
And for this show, we're almost 1 year old.
Yeah, we're on episode 51, season 1. We're so excited. And from the Chronic Healthy Life, we handpicked 11 other coaches, right? 11 other coaches to form the Chronic Health Collective. And, we just want to just run through a little bit what we learned, what has happened over the last year, and what is coming towards the future. What our visions are for how the Chronic Health Collective is going to expand out to the community and help so many people in the new year.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have so many good coaches with us for the last year. And I really have learned a lot from them.
Oh, for sure. It is so funny because we all oh my God, I'm gonna piss off a lot of doctors out there. But a lot of doctors I know they have that God complex, right? And I think we all have a little bit of that too when we're life coaches, right? Or coaches in our specialties, is we think we know it all, right? And I tell you, in these last 11 months, turning on to a 12th month, learning from each and every one of these Chronic Health Collective coaches, oh my gosh, me, Minna, a lot of stuff, like we know a lot, but we're still at the tip of the iceberg of what is still there to learn, especially in things that we don't even know about. We're always learning something new, which is really cool.
Yeah, because we started Chronically Healthy Life first. And we started that because we know that just having doctors in your realm isn't enough for your entire life's health, right? So that's why we started Chronically Healthy Life. And then we take that one step further to the Chronic Health Collective. And we expand that out to a panel of coaches that can help you live a chronically healthy life.
Exactly. And like I said, each of these coaches were in different specialties that was outside our own, right? And that's why we learned so much, and it's funny because Minna was talking about, when it comes to your health, right? And of course, to live a chronically healthy life is not just about your health, but when it comes to your health, so many people are relying on their doctors alone, like you said, right? And that is something that, let's just say we have a different view. All right. Let's leave it at that. Right. Doctors are amazing at what they're doing when they're putting you back together, when there's an emergency. They put me back together after my car accident. And, I thank them for that. But a lot of times after they put you back together, it's almost like a Mr. Potato Head. Sometimes the parts aren't where they're supposed to be, or sometimes, they might miss something that they didn't notice. But, you're alive, but you might not be thriving, right? So, when we came up with the Chronically Healthy Life, it really was trying to figure out how do we get the extra 10, 20% to thrive, right? And that's why we start to modalities, right?
I mean, you as a person, you're not just your body, right? Your body is what doctors tend to focus on when they're trying to fix you when you have a problem. You're more than just your body. Even the car is more than just mechanics, right?
Yes.
You are your soul. You have your memories, your knowledge, your functions. You are a whole being, not just your body. And that's something that you need other coaches to help you heal those elements. Sometimes it's not just about the body.
I love that. And what I hear from Minna, and of course you're gonna chime in, she's right here with me. When doctors look at you, they are treating systems, right? They're not treating the whole body, right? Like Minna says, we're different parts throughout the whole body. But it's funny. You go see a doctor once it's outside, it's like, oh, well, here's a heart specialist, and here is a brain specialist, but you don't connect all the dots, right? And that's what we do here. So we help you connect all the dots, because like for some of us, maybe you're a super athlete, but you're lacking, you had like what's the word when you get hit on your head really hard?
Trauma.
Head trauma, TBI. Maybe you have some head trauma. Like, this was big back in the day for football players, right? And nowadays they change it really different. Like if you look at football 20 years ago, they're always charging with their heads with their helmets. They don't do that anymore because they know that caused brain injury. But you can be an athlete, right, and have brain trauma without knowing it, and without someone diving in to figure that out. You never know. But when doctors are doing the test, they may just be doing the basic test and everything looks fine. And that's where things are different, is your body's always giving signs something is wrong. And when you go see your GP, a lot of times they may not see those things because they weren't trained to look for those signs.
Yeah, I mean, from a traditional standpoint, you would tend to go to like a GP, a general practitioner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he can look at you, diagnose you, and send you to different specialists.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of take that approach, but in a holistic way.
Exactly.
So you can come to us first, and then we'll lead you to a different modalities that will heal you on a holistic basis.
And like Minna says, we work together, as a community, as a family, right? So, holistically, we're going to put you back together, whichever areas that, you may need some help on, right? And that's the beauty of it. A lot of times we may not even know what we need help on. And that's where, the power of all our coaches here is their specialty in those areas to help you dig in, to look for those signs that is causing those problems, and then find ways for the root causes to solve them.
Yeah, we hear from a lot of people that they have some type of issue, whether it is with the heart or the body is somewhere with them, or the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And they have tried everything
Mm-hmm.
the traditional way. They've seen all the specialists, try all the medications, nothing works. And we hear that story over and over again. And it's because they're not looking outside of the traditional modalities.
Correct.
And that's what we're here to help you with.
Exactly. And for all those that are there, blaming everything on their age, blaming on their genes, blaming their mother and father, the way they're brought up. Well, it's all sort of true, but not 100% true, right? Because we are in control of our lives. We are in control of our genes, as a matter of fact, right? So just because you may have the genes for cancer, you may have the genes for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, and every single family member had that doesn't mean you will get it too, right? So, I think a lot of it starts with the mindset that you can make a difference, but you need to make that choice.
Which comes to what we are trying to promote here, which is to wrap up our first year as a collective. Why don't you tell us what we have?
Yes, we want to celebrate our first year of a big bang, right? So what we're doing is, rather than calling it a summit, because everyone does a summit, right? We are doing what we like to call a master class. So each of the coaches, there's 14 of us, but technically, 2 of us are pairs. 12 of the coaches is each going to deliver you a master class in their specialty, right? Candace, I love, she's kicking off Friday. She's going to teach you how to manifest $10,000 in 10 days, right? And I was thinking, when I saw that topic, I think, wow, that's crazy. I think we can all get that. We have to watch that too.
That would come in handy.
That would come in really handy, right? But it comes down to, a lot of people think, oh, this is just another those life coach summits. No, this is something that they are going to peel back a little bit of themselves and show you their specialties. But more importantly, they're going to show you how to improve your life in their modality in 30 minutes. And of course, there are a lot of bonuses. So if you're watching this, masterclass, which is happening this coming Friday, September 19th and 20th, from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we're going to have 3 coaches per day. And then we're going to have 3 amazing guests that we did interviews on, and even different modalities that these coaches aren't even on. And I tell you, I was in the back end recording these things, these guests, and what they were saying is mind blowing. You're gonna learn so much over this masterclass.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a little bit of your interviews, and I gotta tell you that it's things that you could never imagine is possible, and these people will help you get there.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, the floodgates are open. A lot of things that we thought were true in the allopathic world, in the Western medicine world, is now turning out to be, let's just say, half truths. All right, let's not call them lies. They're half truths. They weren't all true on what they were talking about, how they help with your health. We're seeing them peeling back with the food dye, saying that was never dangerous. Well, that's getting banned, which is great. They're targeting a lot of the pesticides, and recently, they're peeling back the curtain and talking about the vaccines. And I had Nicholas Hosher from the Makula Foundation. You have to watch his interview. In 30 minutes, it's going to open your eyes and see what was hidden over the last 3 years, and more importantly, what health conditions you could be facing right now silently without even knowing about it. So like I said, all these guests is going to show you ways to improve your life, to live a chronic healthy life.
So let's take it back a little bit.
Yes.
We're talking about Chronic Health Collective,
yes.
Chronically Healthy Life, right? What does longevity really mean?
Well, to me, longevity, a lot of people think, oh, longevity is just living a long time, right? And I get joked about this all the time. I tell everyone, oh, me, Minna's going to live to at least 150 or more if I had a choice, right? And they'll just sort of look at me strange. And it's like, why do you want to be lying in bed for like the next 50, 60 years? Or why would you want to be pushing around in a wheelchair for that long? And I was saying, are you nuts? Longevity is about living a long time, but having your health and vitality. So basically your physical mobility, your flexibility, but most importantly, your brain function, right? Because unfortunately, as we get older, it is conditioned to us that you are either going to lose your brain, and when I say lose your brain, you can get dementia, you get Alzheimer's, stage 3 diabetes, right? It is stage 3 diabetes. It's not dementia. It's not a disease. That's totally preventable. Or you get like diseases like Parkinson's, where you got full function in your brain, but you don't got full function of your limbs, of your body, right? When we talk about longevity, what we envision is having full capacity of your brain, your body, your flexibility, maybe even your sense of humor, long past the average. I think the average lifespan in US now is 78, 79. It actually dropped down a couple of years since COVID. Not actually at COVID, it dropped down in 20 COVID. Yeah, around 22, 23. So once again, what happened there? If you want to find out, you want to watch that interview. But like I said, that's what longevity means to us. And there are a lot of things you can do to boost your longevity.
Yeah, I mean, longevity might mean that you staying in bed for 30 years, that's probably not your plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that somewhere along the line, you want to be healthy and smart and independent and financially I would say wealthy, financially independent.
Yes.
Right. But all these things together isn't something you can just ask your doctor alone, right? It's not something you just, because you have good genes, you're going to be okay. That doesn't work like that.
Exactly. And I think the biggest problem nowadays, and I think nowadays people are finally searching for answers. Unfortunately, there's so much information out there, on social media, TikTok, YouTube. There's all these other things I don't even know about that the young ones are looking at. But, there's so many people that are influencers, right? And they, they're just sort of repeating back certain things that they heard from someone doing. And it could be dangerous because everyone's a bio individual, right? So what works for one person may not work for another, right? And that comes right back down to why we started the Chronic Health Collective, because we realized that, right? Like some of the things that I teach will work for majority of the people I help with, right? But if it comes down to more of a mindset issue, maybe it's ways that diving into your subconscious, or maybe how you're using your energy. That's outside my comfort zone, right? That's not something I am going to just BS my way and coach people through, because that's not what I do. And that's something that, our specialists, our coaches can come in and help you with.
I gotta say that our path to learning about functional longevity, it is a long path. And before all that, I tend to rely on I'm getting old.
Mm-hmm.
I make all the standard excuses that everybody seems to make. But once you start learning the path, learning about longevity, your views will change.
Exactly. I think too many people nowadays, they wait too long in pain, and then they try to make the change, right? And at that point, now everyone's looking for quick fixes, right? Because they're so used to a pain medication taking away pain. But what they don't realize, by taking away pain, they're taking away the signs that your body has something wrong. It didn't actually solve the root problem. In many cases, actually made it worse. So when you are working with, holistic practitioners, holistic coaches to help you, I don't want to say heal the body, because we're not doctors. So we can't say we can heal or cure anything. But, when you want to help your body innate intelligence, I talked about that today, to activate your innate intelligence to start repairing your body from the inside out, you have to tap into what is missing.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some water, and you're going to sign up for the masterclass.
We'll be right back.
An empowered life has no expiration date. We're all created to do incredible things, like conquer summits, catch big waves, and live our passions. As time goes on, our bodies begin to show signs that things just aren't as they used to be. Our energy levels decline, sleep patterns shift, and recovery slows. But our bodies are masterpieces of design, holding the potential to bounce back better than ever. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and regenerative science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHKCU, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, which requires external light sources, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality, enhancing the body's flow of natural energy for improvements in strength, stamina, performance, and overall health and well-being, with the simplicity of an affordable, non-invasive, non-transdermal patch. As we age, levels of these life-enhancing elements, which are associated with wellness and longevity, begin to decline. LifeWave invested 10 years into stem cell research, which resulted in over 70 patents. X39 was born to bring to the public a product that can support wellness in an entirely new way, supporting the production of younger, healthier cells with wearable light technology. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. Harness your body's natural potential to maintain youthful energy and vitality, because life comes at you fast, but it doesn't have to pass you by. Live long, live well, live young. Be the light with LifeWave X39. LifeWave.
Imagine a life where every day is fueled by energy, vitality, and purpose. Where age is just a number and your best years are always ahead. Hi, I'm Andy Nam, certified functional nutrition longevity coach, best-selling author, and international speaker. After reversing my own chronic health struggles, I'm now on a mission to help you live longer, stronger, and of course, to look younger. I combine biohacking, cutting-edge nutrition, and stem cell technology to unlock your body's full potential. So no matter where your starting point is, I'm going to guide you toward a chronically healthy life. Ready to reverse aging and take control of your future? Connect with me today. Your journey to longevity starts here. Welcome back to the Chronic Health Collective. I hope you signed up for the masterclass, and if you haven't, go to chronichealthcollective.com, just down there, and there'll be a link to sign up for the masterclass. Like I said, but we have a lot more bonuses for you if you want to get the all access pass for $29.97, and you can rewatch all the interviews, all the masterclasses again at your own convenience, because there's some of them that you might want to watch 2-3 times to understand and to get the full benefits of the masterclass. But moving on, talking about longevity, a lot of people will always ask, me and Minna, what are your longevity tips, right? So let's peel back the curtain and, share some of the stuff that we do.
I think the most common question I get is, when do you eat? Not even just what you eat, but when do you eat?
Correct.
Right. And I think that the topic of intermittent fasting is coming up a lot more, even in the mainstream media these days.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people is wondering, how come you don't need to eat?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my answer is always, you need to adjust to it. You don't just jump from eating 5 meals a day to not eating anything a day. But you can work your way towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of science that proves that intermittent fasting is good for longevity.
Correct. And, the funny thing is, it's also how much you eat. Longevity is showing that if you're not eating as much, you need to eat what your body needs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling anyone to starve, right? But I think most people are eating way more than the body can use. Right. And I'm not even talking about calories in, calories out. I'm just talking about all the garbage people are putting inside their bodies, and they're not using any protocols to get them out. Right. So here you are. You just keep loading up the garbage truck with more and more garbage. At some point, it just explodes. And that's when we all get sick and develop chronic conditions.
See, because your digestive system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you eat, it takes about 16 hours for you to actually process all the food that you ate.
Correct.
Even if it's good food, even if it's clean, good, nutritious food, it takes 16 hours. So if in between the 16 hours you keep feeding to something else, then your digestive system never get to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how people get sick.
Exactly. A lot of it gets backed up too, right? And it almost comes down to like fermentation, right? Like a lot of gases get built up. And then that's why a lot of people, they feel bloated, they get gassy, right? And then they start thinking, well, maybe I'm intolerant to this food. I'm intolerant to that food. Well, no, it's just because there's just so much food built up in your body that your body can't handle it anymore. Like your body's not bringing it down and absorbing it quick enough. But like I said, it's actually fermenting. And fermenting, when it's done right outside in a jar, like how we do, our kombuchas and stuff like that, is great. But it's never good to be fermenting inside, because technically, the food just starts rotting at that point, right? And you're not actually getting nutrients from it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of studies on linking digestive system to your brain health.
Mm-hmm.
So even though one is down there, one's up here, your body's linked together. So your gut actually does a whole lot more than just, digesting your food.
Exactly. But, when it comes to intermittent fasting, I know you hear this term a lot. Minna, why don't you just give a quick breakdown? What does that exactly mean?
Intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
It just means that you take longer to a long period of time not eating and just drinking clean water.
Correct. You got your eating window and your fasting window, which means you're not eating. And it's funny when I tell people you should at least fast 8 hours, like intermittent fast for 8 hours, and start with like an eating window of 16 hours. And already they're looking at me funny. How's that possible? I was like, well, if you're sleeping 8 hours, it's already done. So it's really not that hard. Like Minna says, start with that if you're not doing that already. I think everyone should be at least doing that. and then start moving your breakfast a little later in the day, right? As you move it, don't eat at 6 o'clock when you get up, or for some of you, 8 o'clock when you get up. But, start moving it a little later in the day. And then as it gets more comfortable later in the day, as it gets closer to lunch, then you can just eliminate one of those meals, eliminate breakfast.
I think the funny thing with food is that the more I eat, the more I want to eat.
Yes.
Right. So especially when it comes to carbs, right?
Yes.
Like pastas, noodles, all that. Once you start eating, or cake, pies, once you start eating the sweet stuff, the carby stuff, you feel like you wanted to eat more. And if you manage to actually stay off those things for, let's say, 5 days, your craving's actually gone.
I love what you said about the carbs, because, we are definitely have weakness for pasta,
Cookies.
bread, cookies, cake. But it is funny because it comes back down to, talking about what people used to share was to be truth, right? And talking about nutrition. There's still a lot of nutritionists out there that says, oh, you should be eating mini meals throughout the day, 5 to 7 times, because we don't want your blood sugar to drop down, right? So what is happening is now you're getting your body to be totally reliant on sugar for fuel. So every time the sugar drops down, like Minna says, like you eat a cookie, wow, you feel great, you got this energy, your sugar spikes out, your body burns sugar quickly, it drops down, now you got that crash again. And because your body doesn't know how to burn anything else next to sugar, you need that next refeed of sugar. And that's why carbohydrates are difficult. And a lot of people think, oh, I just cut sugar out. Well, cutting just raw sugar out is not enough, because a lot of people, even if you think you're eating clean, right? Like you're eating vegetables, you're eating fruits, you're vegan diet. A lot of those are carbohydrates too. Your body doesn't know the difference. Once it breaks down, carbohydrates just breaks down to glucose, which is sugar.
For sure. So you heard me, when we fast, during the fasting period, you need to drink some clean water.
Yes, very important. More and more so nowadays, because once again, like I said, so much information is coming out now that were proven to protect us, like fluoride.
Bad for you?
Totally bad for you. They have links of it causing, let's just say, mild links, studies showing that it can cause autism, right? Brain dysfunction, brain fog, clarity problems, right? So they're putting the fluoride in the water. But, like even if it was just to keep the water safe, now we got fluoride in our toothpaste. We got fluoride everywhere, and it brings it up to an unsafe level, right? So once again, the water system is so important. And depending on which part of the country you live in, if you're getting your water from city water or, water from the well, right? You'll think that it should be clean, right? Because they do what they need to do to give it to the public. Well, once again, you do the bare minimums, the bare minimums of recommendations that, at this level, it is safe. But if you're drinking the amount of water that your body needs, guess what? You've already gone past the daily safe level of all those, let's just say, depending where you are, we have hard water, soft water, stuff like that. But, for us, we like drinking reverse osmosis water. But when it comes to reverse osmosis, be careful which one you use, because a lot of the reverse osmosis actually pulls out all the electrolytes also. So here you are, you're drinking clean water that doesn't have any of the PFCs, any of the, pesticides and everything, but it's also pulling out all the minerals that you need. So if you do have a reverse osmosis system, make sure one of those cycles actually put those minerals and like magnesium and zinc, the calcium back in the water.
So if you're like a beginner, you would probably think that you need to drink eight cups of water.
8 glasses.
8 glasses of water.
Yes.
So if you are like an intermediate water drinker, you probably know that you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water.
Yes.
Now, if you want to take that one step further, what do we put in our water?
Well, we used to put Himalayan sea salt, right? Or the Celtic sea salt, right? And it's so funny because studies show you actually need salt, you need electrolytes for your body to absorb water, right? Because if you just drink straight water, your body doesn't actually absorb it all into your cells, right? In which case, sometimes you can drink too much water and it can swell your brain, which is a big problem, right? So we normally use sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, Celtic salt, but recently, we've been using the LifeWave Cellulize, which gives you all the minerals that you need, but also boosts up like copper peptides and stuff like that. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I do notice that before we do all that, me even drinking a lot of water, it doesn't bring up my water content.
Yes, exactly. Your
So
body
it's not
doesn't
really
absorb
hydrating
it.
me.
Right. And on the topic of electrolytes, there are, there's oh my gosh, there's so many brands out there. And I just ordered one to test. I'm not gonna name which one it is. So is one of the better ones. Of course we're using Cellulize, the best one in our opinion. But of course, we're a little bit biased because we love LifeWave products. But electrolytes out there right now, they have figured out people need salt, right? So a lot of these things are putting a lot of higher salt content. But what people don't realize is in a lot of these electrolytes, powders, like they come in little patches, pouches. They're saying, oh, this is the salt content goes up. And okay, that's great. We probably need that, right? Most people think that you only need like 1 teaspoon of salt, but studies are showing that for optimal health, you may be needing anywhere between 3 to 5 teaspoons of salt, which is a lot of salt, right? So people are drinking these electrolyte solutions, but the problem is most of them, unless they specifically tell you, are using table salt,
which has plastics in it.
Which has plastics, which have chemicals, right? So it's salt, but it's the bad salt, right? So here you are thinking you're getting good quality electrolytes. And a lot of the main brands are like that. I'm not like, once again, I don't want to name brands, but I know there's a lot of brands people are buying that are saying, oh, this is good salt content, right? And then, of course, they also have a lot of the artificial flavors, like the sweeteners and stuff like that, which could be a problem too, because it's salty. Well, we can make it taste good by giving it some artificial flavors, right? So that's why, it really comes really important to look at the label more, right? Like, yes, electrolytes are important, but see what raw materials are using in those electrolytes.
So let's talk about something that is kind of popular right now.
Yes.
And that is injections.
Yes.
Vitamin injections, glutathione injections. I don't know why you keep jabbing yourself with a needle with stuff, but what do you think about it?
So you're talking about either injections or the IV infusions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think for people that are severely deficient, it can really help. Don't get me wrong, right? I think for people, for instance, B12 infusions are hugely popular right now, right? And if you're not a carnivore eater, you don't eat any type of meat, you probably will be deficient in B12, in which case you probably need it. Another one that is very popular is vitamin C, vitamin D, right? So once again, if you're living a proper lifestyle and eating the rainbow, of course, we can go how deep, how clean the foods are and everything. But most of the stuff you can eat to get you what you need, and vitamin D, just go out in the sun and you got vitamin D, right? But, a lot of these infusions, they burn off very quickly too. So you can be getting it in your body. It sounds like it's really good, but it doesn't stay in your body, right? It's not always bioavailable, right? So to me, it's sort of a waste of money. The other thing that could be dangerous is people aren't even getting tested before they go and start getting these B12 infusions and stuff like that. And when it comes down to too much of a good thing can really turn into a bad thing too.
So let's talk about stem cells.
Yes, I love it.
Stem cells is something that traditionally you have to go to a doctor's office, not in the United States, which is actually illegal.
Illegal.
And it costs like $50,000 and up.
Yes. And in most cases, there are injecting fetal stem cells from the placenta or from the baby, from somewhere else. From this, but most importantly, they're from somebody else, right? And I briefly talked about our II or innate intelligence. Well, our body knows when something is foreign or not foreign. So even though, a lot of these stem cell infusions, injections, a lot of times they tell you, oh, you need to go to 3, 4, 5 treatments before you start feeling a difference, even though they're injecting you with insane amount of stem cells with each injection. It's because there's probably only about 30% chance they take because they're not your own stem cells, right? Now, in retrospect, our bodies decline in stem cells over time, and we got the most when we're young, right? But by the time we're 30, we lose about 60% of it. So if we were, to all the people out there that's still in their teens or 20s, get your stem cells out of your body now while you have a lot of them, so you can use it again when you're older, right? You can do that. You can do that. You can actually pull your own stem cells out, store it to be used later when you're older. But no one told me that, right? But, that's also very expensive, right? But then now you are actually using your own stem cells. Like I never even looked into it because, of course, we're 55, normally we have maybe 20% of our stem cells. I'm not pulling out whatever I have left to give to a much older me later. We like to look at ways to stimulate our body to actually create new stem cells, so I don't have to pull out what I already have.
Which is why you use LifeWave?
Which is why, we use LifeWave. But even before LifeWave, that was sort of the holy grail that, I've been personally chasing for the last 10 years on different modalities to boost stem cells. There's like hyperbaric chamber, there is like, hot cold therapy has shown that it can stimulate growth of stem cells, infrared, saunas and stuff like that, PEMF, like pulse electronic magnetic therapy. Like there's so many different holistic modalities that can stimulate your body to create stem cells. But first of all, most of this equipment is very expensive. Second of all, you need to do it consistently, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to even feel anything each day. And then fourth of all is, who has the time to do that? Like I said, we have most of these equipment at home because, like I said, I've been chasing stem cells. But until we got introduced to LifeWave, this is a product that actually gets your body to create its own stem cells through elevating GHKCU. So once again, I'm not saying that the LifeWave X39 generates stem cells. It elevates your body's GHKCU, which will create new stem cells.
All right, so we can take another break because I need more water. And then we'll wrap this up after this.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science, at longevity, at exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Welcome back to the Chronic Health Collective. Like I said, this is a collective of me and Minna. Today, we're just sharing what has been happening in the last year with Chronic Health Collective, but more importantly, why we started and, what longevity is all about. So, as a functional longevity expert, a lot of people says, well, you claim you are a longevity expert. How do you measure your longevity?
So let's back it up a little bit.
Yes, okay.
The reason why people go to doctors or even taking medication is because the feedback is so fast.
Mm-hmm.
If I take a painkiller, it kills the pain like half an hour later. So the feedback is that it works half an hour later. So you know that at least that is numbing your pain. It's actually not taking the pain away. But when it comes to holistic modalities, that feedback is sometimes not that direct, right?
Yes, the feedback loop is definitely slower, and it's funny that you bring that up because, like you said, people are so used to medication where you're taking pain away, and people associate with taking pain away as being healed, right? Or as been, the condition being gone, But what most of the time is when you're taking pain away, it is hiding the root causes. It's just covering the symptoms, right? So for our bodies to get where they are, it's not one of these on-off switches, unless you get in a car accident or you're exposed to crazy amounts of radiation. Most people isn't an on-off switch. It's something that gets developed over months, over years, right? And over those months and years, most of us don't notice it, right? You don't notice it when your blood sugar is slowly going up. You don't notice it when you are slowly developing, dementia or heading towards Alzheimer's from type 3 diabetes, right? You don't notice that, oh, I forgot where my keys are. I forgot where my wallet is. These are little things you don't think about, but it takes over time that after a while, you're going to forget where your house is, right? And so it takes time for these conditions to develop. And like Minna says, so many people are so used to Western medication that when they have a problem, they're hoping there's a pill for that, right? Like instantaneous results. But when it comes to your body healing itself, you have to peel away the layers to get back to the root cause. And a lot of times, depending on how damaged those layers are, it may take time to even start feeling you getting better. Like you're actually healing on the inside, but you don't feel it happening. You don't see it happening. And for a lot of my clients, the ones that have the most damage, they look outside. It's like, well, my knee still hurts, or I still have wrinkles around my eyes. Meanwhile, maybe they have something really, damage in the body, a lot of inflammation inside their body that is healing without you even knowing and seeing.
And that's where technology comes into play.
Yes.
Because these days we have wearables, we have rings, all kinds of toys that can tell you if things are turning the wrong way.
That is so true. That is so true. And once again, the wearables, there's the positive and negative. I always want to let people know there are positive and negatives. Let's talk about the positive first. First of all, like Minna says, there are watches like Apple watches, Galaxy watches, Google watches. I don't know, Garmin watches. So many of them, but so many people, they buy it for fashion, right? They just buy it because it looks so cool. Wow, look, I got the latest Apple watch, latest Garmin watch. It can track me where I am. I'll never get lost again. It might be useful if you're starting exhibiting some Alzheimer's. But, they're not using these wearables for their purpose, right? And a lot of these purpose, they have really cool functions, right? They track your health over time, right? A lot of people don't realize that. Like some people I know, they have owned Apple watches for the last 5 to 10 years. They've been out for a while now, right? They've been out for a while. They're up to Series 11 now, right? 5 to 10 years. And then when I ask them what is the resting heart rate, they don't even know that, right? That is, a very important function of your health, because obviously the lower it is, the healthier you are. And of course that only goes down to a certain point. If it goes too low, I guess you die, right? But if for most people between 60 to 80 is a really good resting heart rate, right? If you're a little bit more athletic, maybe you'd be dropping down between the 40 and 60. You really don't want to be going below 40. Something's wrong there. But you also don't want to be having a resting heart rate, say, over 100, right? And when you have these tracking devices over a period of years, the beauty of it is you could be tracking your health. You can look back 5 years from this point. What was my resting heart rate, right? This is a great way to test your longevity. If it is inching up, what's causing it to inch up, right? Now you're looking at lifestyle factors. But if it's going down, which is what I like to see, oh my God, we're doing something right. We're actually getting younger, right? So watches are important. They track your resting heart rate. They track your workout rates, your burn fat, your cardio areas. They track how fast your heart returns back down after it goes up. Another very important factor. And then also tracks your HRV, which is another longevity marker. And usually, like I said, when I ask people with Apple Watches, they can't give me any of those metrics, even though it's stored right on the watch and right on the phone.
And of course, they have what's this called? Oura Ring?
Yes, the Oura Ring.
And this is what we use to track our sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It would tell you not only how long you sleep, because that's part of the equation, that how long you've been staying in bed before you actually fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
How long is your REM sleep, your deep sleep, and how restless or restful you are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the other things it tracks over time your temperature variations, so it knows when you're getting sick before you know you're getting sick, right? And it also tracks your resting heart rate, your activities throughout the day, to see how rested you are, right? And that's not just for your muscles, but your mind, right? So, they have a readiness and a sleep score. So, for us, it's great. When the readiness score is low, that means your body didn't recover properly. Those are, Pilates or meditation. But, when the number is high, you're charged up for a good hit workout.
So let's say you don't have any of those things.
Yes.
How do you know?
If you don't have any of those things, then it becomes a little bit more difficult, right? If you're measuring inflammation per se, right, there are the best way to do it would be through blood labs, right? If you want a scientific look, like that really gives you a snapshot what's going on inside your body. But if you want to have testing for longevity for through physical health, there are physical tests that you can do, and so simple. These things that everyone should know how to do, like push-ups. Well, at least I hope most people know how to do push-up. Burpees, which is like push-up times 10, right? You got your squat, and then you got your plank, right? 4 simple to do exercise that are not easy. Simple to do. I have to say they are simple to do. And depending on how many you can do within a minute, there is a chart that is mapped out to show how healthy you are for not only your age group, but if you're actually much younger too, right? And then there's flexibility tests to see if you can touch your toes. There's the SRT test, which I love, which most people I know now still cannot do, which is the sit-rest test. You basically cross your legs, sit down. And remember, when we're in school, when the teacher says, all right, everyone, gather around, sit around. That's what we all did as kids, right? We crossed our legs, we sat down, and we listened to the teacher. And then when it's time to get up, everyone just pushed their legs on the floor and got back up. This is something that everyone should be able to do. And there are, metrics on that, depending on how many things that you need to get, help yourself get up. If you need to use your hand, you need to use your elbow, you need to use your whole body to get up. That there's studies showing that your life can be shortened anywhere from 5 to 15 years, right? So that's another good test. And the last one that I think would be a great one for everyone to try when they're off the show is a one-leg balance test, right? We should all be able to do a single leg bounce, right? If you're into yoga, the tree pose, right? One leg it up, right? But if you want an extra challenge, do that closing your eyes, right? So these are things that you can do without having the equipment.
So if you don't want to move, you can try meditating. And when you do the body check meditation, you go through each part of your body and you focus on that part of the body so that you know actually which part of your body has problems. So that's one way of identifying where in your body needs some attention.
I love that. And, just plugging my coaches, like my friends in the energy space, in a Chronic Health Collective, we have several of the coaches that can do that body scan for you. And the beauty of it, they don't even need to be beside you. They can actually do it remotely. And that's another way they can actually test throughout your body which areas are at optimal and which areas need some work. And just one of the coaches that we're going to have in our upcoming Chronic Health Collective did that with me. And he's like, oh, I thought I was in great health. And he can just do a scan as well. This area is lacking. And I didn't tell him anything. I knew that area was lacking. Right. So that was interesting. Like there's so many things that are unexplained. Right. And that's the things that I am so fascinated that we're learning that we can share with people.
Yeah, I think with longevity as a journey, there's a lot of things you're going to learn. And one of the keys of doing that is that you have to unlearn what you already know, what you think you know, and just keep your open mind and just know that there are other ways of doing things that you would never imagine is possible.
And, I do want to touch on the last two things on how to measure longevity, because I get so many friends saying that, oh, it's a placebo effect, right? When you trying like the life wave patches and stuff. And just interviewed a dear friend of mine, and that's going to be on our masterclass. And she was just talking about her mom, which was on Parkinson, on a walker for 2 years. And she tried the life wave patches, I think for 11 days. I don't even remember. It was a short amount of time. And she's visiting her mom, and her mom's dancing in the kitchen, right? So the energy is amazing, right? These are not placebo effects. When your body is working properly, you can do things that you're meant to do.
So keep an open mind and make sure you check out our masterclass coming up on Friday.
Yes, coming Friday, 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock CST. 3 coaches, 3 guests, and then we have it on Saturday on the 20th, and then we skip a week, right? And if you buy the all access pass, you don't even have to sit and watch it live. You can watch it on your own time. And once again, like I said, we got a lot of free giveaways during the masterclass, and the only way you get those free giveaways is you sign up for it.
That's it for today?
That's it for today. Just want to round up exciting things that happened over the year, but more importantly, so much more happening in the coming year. And we're not going to talk about that until next season.
Great. So, catch us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST. And you can watch all our past episodes anytime on Ep60 TV or on a YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ Chronic Health Collective.
Thanks for tuning in. Your transformation starts now. See you next week, and sign up for the masterclass at Chronic Health Collective. We'll see you all next week.